Hello everyone, welcome to my new video on UiPath Forms AI. So in this video, we'll be looking at how we can create AI model to extract data from structured documents. So let's first see what are the documents that we are going to process and why we can use Forms AI to make this easier. So I have a set of documents like this. So let me quickly open it and show you. Basically, these documents look something similar to this. Um, so here, what you can see is mostly the document is structured except for this table. So these are some documents that I downloaded from some of the websites, which you can also do. It's already there. So here you can see the table. It is dynamic. In this page, it can go up to, in this document, it can go up to 2 pages. In this document, it's pretty much the same, but the number of rows in this table is less than the previous one, and this has only 2 rows, and in this is just 1 row. So so these are some scenarios that we encounter most of the time, and we try to see how we can extract the documents from these kind of and we see how we can extract data from these kind of documents. So when you say structured documents, what comes to our mind is the form extractor that we used um, all these days to extract data from structured documents. But the limitation we had with that is that when you have tables where the row count differs time to time, we basically had to figure out different ways to extract data from those tables. So with Forms AI, we can make it simplified, and we can easily create an AI model to extract data from these structured documents, and even when the number of rows change. So let's see how we can do this in UiPath Forms AI. So this is available on the cloud platform which I'm using right now. Um, and you can also enable this feature if you go to admin, and under this section you can see Forms AI, the document understanding option. Just make sure this is enabled. And once it is enabled, you can find it here on the left hand side panel called document understanding. So this is the app that we are going to use to build the Forms AI model. So let me quickly brief you on this. So here, first we get into the overview page. Here we can have multiple projects, just like in AI Center. We have multiple projects, and in each project we have different AI models. So just like that in document understanding, here also we can create multiple projects, and in each project we can have different extractors. So the first thing is we first need to create a new project here. Since those some of those are actually um, documents that relate to financial stuff, let's give it a name, something related to that area. So all you need to do is just click on new project, and let me give a name like risk analysis. So the description part is optional. Other than that, here you have a couple of options like choosing the OCR method. So if you use UiPath document OCR, the OCR URL is this one, and the document API or the document understanding API call, it will automatically get it from the platform itself. So you don't need to type it. So in our case, let's use UiPath document OCR, and I'll keep these settings as it is. But if you are using a different OCR model like this, then you need to provide the additional information. Let's stick with this, and I'll click on create. And here we have our first project. So now what we need to do is we need to get into this project and see how we can use it. So just click on the project, and once you are here, you have a couple of options. You have document types, you have a page called extractors, and this is something that is coming up soon. We'll see about that once that is available. And you also have a settings option. So in settings, you can just change the project settings, the same screen that you saw before. So once you are here, the next thing that we need to do is we need to create a new document type. So for that, you can click on this new button, and we can do it by actually using Forms AI. We need to select on this option. And here we need to give a name for the document type. And in our case, these documents are Form 4. So let's use the name Form 4 for this. And then click on Save. So after doing that, we will actually get redirected to a different page. So this is very much similar to the data manager or the document manager. So it's the same thing used for Forms AI. And so we have a new tab here. But in the previous page, you can see the type is already created, and the extraction method is Forms AI. And that's what we are going to build now. So the first step, we need to add few documents here. So this is what's recommended for now. Add 2 to 20 similar documents with maximum pages, maximum 5 pages. And these are the different supported types. So let's add few documents. So we already have 4 documents here. You can drag it over here and click on save so that it will start uploading these documents. So it will take a couple of seconds to finish the upload. Just like in a data manager or the document manager, once you upload it, uses the OCR engine to read the document and understand what's there, right? So it's the same thing that is happening here. So it will upload the files, it will read it using the OCR engine that we provided, and it will display all the documents in the screen. So let's give it a few minutes to finish the process. Okay, so now we have all the files uploaded, and you can also see some of the files has 3 pages, some files has 2 pages, and these 2 files has only 1. And let's close it and start the process. So here you can see it is automatically identifying the fields, and it is automatically doing the extraction. So for the first document, it is already done for us. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out what are the fields that we need and what are the things that are not needed, and just fine tune this extraction it automatically did. So let's see. So for our scenario, let's only focus on few fields. So let's look at this OMB number and this one, this name, it's the requester name and the issuer name and this date. And the rest will ignore for now. So let's delete this. So I'll show you how to delete. So if this field is not needed, you can click on this edit field and hit on delete. And this is also not needed. This is okay, this is okay, and let's delete the other fields as well. This process has been uh, automated so that it's easy for us. Only part that we need to do by ourselves is the table extraction. So I'll show you how to do that after configuring this part. Okay, we have all the normal fields that we need to extract, or the regular fields. We have the OMB number, and let's also refine this name. We can click on edit again and click on this edit button so that we can update the name. We can say um, make sure you don't have any spaces or any other special characters. If you want to separate things, use this icon just like I have used it, and then click on save. And let's do the same thing for the other one. Okay, so here we have the four fields. Now is the part where we need to extract data from this table. So for that, we need to use these column fields. So that part is not automatically extracted, so that we need to define for the first document. So let's see. First, we'll add the fields that we need to extract. So let's focus only on three columns. We can use this title, transaction date over here, and this amount. So let's create that. You just need to click on this plus sign and give a name. We have that column, and let's add the other one. And finally, the amount. So once we add the columns here, we need to update one of these columns with a special setting. So that setting actually defines how you want to separate the rows. So here you can see, so I clicked on the title. Here we have a additional option called split items. So as the description says, use field as a delimiter between line items or rows in a table. So basically, we can use this column to identify different rows. So let's click on this option, enable it, and save. Else, what will happen is whatever you extract, it will be in a single row. Okay, so now we have the columns set up. Now we need to add the values to those uh, columns as rows. So I will not add all these rows. I will just add a couple of rows because adding all these rows will take some time. So the first thing we need to define is the items included in the row. So we highlight the first row and press on the slash sign so that it will highlight this thing in green color, and then you need to identify the elements inside it. So we'll first highlight all the rows so that it's easy. Keep pressing that. So I will do this for like 6 or 7 rows. Okay, so this is my last row. But ideally, you have to do this for all the rows. And one thing to remember here is when you have tables like this that varies in number of rows, you need to have a lot of samples. I cannot exactly say how many samples you need, so that depends on your scenario. But if you have tables in these documents that has different row counts, make sure you have a large data set so that you can train it on those so that the model will be much more accurate because this is a part that is dynamic. It's not as easy as the normal fields that you see over here. So because of that, um, make sure you have enough documents to do the training. Okay, so now we have all the documents ready, and we have highlighted the columns here. So in my case, I only have 4 documents. This is just to show you how to do this. So let's add the values to the first column. We highlight the items that needs to go into that from the rows that we identified, and then press on this shortcut key, and it will get added to the columns over here. You can do the same thing to transaction dates, which is R, and lastly the amounts and A. So you have everything in a single line. So we are done with the first document. Now let's go to the second one. You can navigate through the documents from here, just like in a document manager when we are doing the labeling through AI Center. And now here, instead of us manually adding these values, so if you remember, it did the prediction automatically for the first documents for the regular fields. But here it is not there, but we can actually add it. We can add those things manually as well, but we can also use this predict option so that it's easier. So let's hit on predict and see how it identifies the values. You can see it extracted the OMB number, reporting person, issuer name, and this thing is missing. So now we can update the things. So OMB number is correct, it's here. Reporting person, a part of it is missing. So all we need to do is just highlight it and press on the shortcut so that that part is also added. Date of earliest is this one. Um, we can click on that and press the D, and let's take a look at the row count in the table. So based on my update in the first document, it was able to identify 2 rows here, but it did not extract the remaining rows. So these things we need to update. So that's why I said when it comes to rows over here, we need more samples, and higher the number of documents we have, higher the accuracy is. So let's quickly do an update here. So I'll update this entire line. So you can also remove this row by pressing the same slash key again and press it again so it updates the entire row. The values are extracted properly. We'll do the same here. And here the value is not correct, so it extracted this value. So we press on delete and let's update the full row again. Hash. This is E, R, and the amount is A. So you can see the values are getting updated. And let's quickly do that for the other 2 rows. And and lastly, we have another row here. And we can select all 3 rows, press T and R, and then the amount. You can see it's getting updated. The second document is also done. Now the third one. We do the same thing. Can click on predict and see how it predicts. So the tables will require a little bit of fine tuning, just like you see over here. But usually you can see the regular fields are populated automatically without any issue. So this thing require a lot more training because the rows count change. And you can see a lot of green over here. So let's first highlight the whole thing and press on the delete button so that everything gets deleted. And then we'll define our row. Hash T is the date and the amount. That's the third one. And finally, we'll do the same thing for the other one. And this is the last document. Let's click on predict again. Okay, so the first part is okay. Let's update this part. This part will require a little bit of training as I mentioned before. And A. Okay, so we have our model created and we have labeled the values that we need to extract. So now what we need to do is we need to publish this. Here there's a small change. You can see along with this OMB number, it also extracted one value over here, which is extra. We can easily remove that. We need to highlight this and press on delete. So the unnecessary things do not get selected. Okay, so now we are done with this one. So now we can click on publish. So once you have labeled everything, the next step is publishing it. And we need to give a name. So we can say form co-extractor, for example. And click on publish. And then you will get this message box saying publish is successful and we need to copy this endpoint. So now relating this to what we have in AI Center, if you're familiar about the process over there, once we do the export from AI Center document labeling session, it exports the data into a data set and we need to create the skill. But here it creates the extractor for us and we don't need to get involved in any data sets or anything. All we need to do is just copy this endpoint and copy it and close this. And if you go back to that previous tab, here we had the document type. And now if we go to extractors, we can see the extractor that got created just now. You can also copy the endpoint URL from here. And now, from now onwards, it's the usual document understanding flow in UiPath Studio. So let's get to the studio. And again here, what I have done is I have the taxonomy created. So let me quickly show you. But before that, let me show you the dependencies I'm using here. So these are the dependencies: document understanding ML activities, intelligent OCR, and the OCR activities. Okay. So now let's quickly look at the taxonomy that I have. Just like in any other document understanding process, we need to follow the same thing. So here I have created a group called taxonomy and a thing called finance, and inside that we have coming and then form 4. So how do you create all this is actually by coming here and clicking on this group creation and then the document types, and you can just basically follow the steps. And here we have the form 4. So here we have the fields that we need to extract, like the OMB number, the same fields we have in the model. And under items, we have those 3 columns that we are looking at. We have everything defined here. The data types, if you want to see, the amount is number, this is date, this is string, this is again date, text, text, and this is also text. These are the this is the configuration. This basically tells the robot that when it comes to form 4, these are the fields that we need to extract. All right, so this is the first step. And we have the load taxonomy activity. And then I'm looping through a folder. So this folder is actually defined in this food folder. So this is where my all the documents are. You can see here. And for each document, as usual, I do the digitize document. And here we have the UiPath document OCR. And for the document OCR, we need to use the endpoint du.uipath.com/OCR and the API key. We can copy that from the cloud platform. If you're not sure, let me show you. We can copy that from this admin page. And under licenses, robots and services, here you have the document understanding API key. We just need to copy it and paste it here. Let me quickly update this. Okay. So that's the digitization part, and then comes the data extraction scope. And over here, for us to do the data extraction, we also need to give the document type. What's the type of document that we are going to extract? So in our case, we don't have any classifications here because we are just dealing with only form 4. And because of that, I have given this document type ID. And this is coming from the taxonomy manager. And if you actually go to that document, form 4, here you can find it. Finance incoming form 4. You can copy that and paste it here. So now in the data extraction scope, what's the activity or the extractor that we are going to use? So here what we created is a AI model. So when it comes to AI models, we need to use the machine learning extractor. So all we need to do is just look for that machine learning, and here we have it under extractors. Drag it over here. Once you put it, it will ask you the endpoint, ML skill, and the API key. So let's copy the API key first because I'm already here. Copy it, and then you can, not within double quotes, just press the API key here, and then the endpoint. So for that, we need to go back to our document understanding. Go inside the project, extractors, copy URL, and paste it here. Make sure this is enabled and click on Get Capabilities. So now we need to configure the extractor. So now you can see the endpoint is here, the API key is here. Let's click on configure extractors, and here we have the drop down, the fields that are coming from the ML skill, just like in any ML extractor. We just need to map it now. Have the OMB number, reporting person, issuer, date of earliest, and for items, title, and the amount, and click on save. So we have configured the extraction. Now lastly, to see the data, here I'm using the present validation station. So in this example, I'm actually not writing this data into any Excel, because that part is already covered in most of the videos that I have done. So that's why I'm focusing only on the part where we need to configure this thing, just to show you how it works. So here I will use the present validation station to show the output of the data extraction scope, so that you can see how our Forms AI is working. So now we have actually completed the flow. And let's do a quick run and see how it works. So I already started the process, and we should see the validation station shortly. Let's give it a couple of seconds. Okay, so we have the validation station on my other screen, and this is how it looks like. So here we have the OMB number. This is a bit wrong, so we can just fix it. But the reporting person, that's correct. Issuer name is correct. Date is right. And let's see how the items looks. You can see it was able to extract the items, the things we defined. And so there are a few things um, that are not extracted properly, but as I mentioned, when it comes to these line items, you need more samples because this is a dynamic part. So let's click on save and continue. And let's see how the other document looks like. It opened up in my, so this is the other one. Here you can see the OMB number is correct. And I think even the line items are. Yeah. So for the last one, you don't have a transaction date, but it extracted everything properly. So this is basically how you can use Forms AI on structured documents and also on paths where things are a little bit dynamic, just like in these tables. So I kept on repeating the dynamic paths, these tables, make sure you have more sample documents so that you can do more labeling, and it will try to extract that data automatically and more accurately. And you can see how easy it is. It's not difficult. Um, so I hope this is helpful for you to understand how the document understanding app and the Forms AI inside that works. So let me give you just one more thing before wrapping up. So let me stop this. If you wonder how to train a already available extractor, because this might be a question that might be running in your heads right now. So here, let me close this. If you want to add more documents to this extractor, Right now we only have like 4 documents. You just need to click on Form 4 and it will open the Forms AI. And from here, you can import any document, but make sure it is following the same structure. You can add more documents, you can start labeling on those things just like we did. And once you are exporting or publishing, it will always ask for this name. And if you don't want to use multiple extractors, like to be listed over here, you can easily um, delete this from here and then give the same name over here so that it will publish with that name. But the endpoint URL might be different. So always make sure you copy it and update it. You can actually verify whether that is different or not. So we'll give it a try since we talked about that. So let me delete this form 4 extractor. I already have the endpoint on the other side. So, and we'll give the same name over here. And we'll copy the endpoint. And over here, this is our previous endpoint. Let me just copy the new endpoint right below that. Yeah. So you can see there's a small difference. And it's not the same. So if you are doing that, make sure you change the endpoint as well. Okay. So that brings to the end of the video. I hope this is helpful for you to understand the Forms AI. And thank you very much. And I'll see you in another video. If you have any questions or anything that you want to ask about anything related to UiPath, you can feel free to ask. And I'll see you in the next video. Until then, take care.